top of the morning to you. Today, the 21st day in April 2025. Welcome to Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM. We are the Integrity Station. Right now it is 8:32. Good morning, happy Monday, and happy Easter celebration to all who celebrate. It's a public holiday, so you're likely home or doing whatever it is you want to get up to with no obligation to turn up at work today. But we are here because the news never stops. And so, as usual, you can join the program via our Facebook. Well, actually, Facebook is also taking a break today. So we're working to get it back up, hopefully before the end of the program. But in the meantime, you can get across to us during the program on WhatsApp and on X. So send messages you may have to 0705 050 1067, 0705 050 1067. Equally, we have X, where you can tag at Splash FM 1067. Then hashtag Panorama on Splash with each of your tweets. As you listen to us from home, we hope that you follow along and that you engage, you interact, you participate by contributing your bit to our conversation. My name is Lola Meduteni, and today we have a new addition to the Panorama roster. Joining me on Mondays for the foreseeable future, I have got...
My name is Sheyi Babishile. It's another beautiful Monday morning. It's not just any Monday, it's Easter Monday. Welcome to Panorama. The season of faith, hope, and love is upon us again. And this is a call to hope, well-meaning Nigerians to help build the country together. So today is public holiday, but don't worry, we'll bring you up to speed with what is happening around us in the country. My name is Sheyi Babishile. Welcome once again to Panorama.
Welcome to Panorama, and you know what they say, two heads are better than one. So much as it's been great doing it alone, doing it solo, Shay's a nice addition to the team. So you'll be hearing him on Mondays and Tuesdays, as I said, for the foreseeable future. So he's going to make the conversation more robust, and we're both here to serve you, really, as we always have been. And Easter is about the resurrection of Christ on the third day, I believe. But much as it is about, that lore of Christ being buried in a tomb and then rising on the third day, it is also a reminder to embody and celebrate Christian values like caring for your neighbor, looking after their needs, and just being your sister's keeper or brother's keeper. Yeah. And that's what we're doing today, really, because today we're going to travel to Plateau State, where there has been a lot of conflict and bloodshed in the last couple of weeks. It's not new, but there's been a resurgence in news of killings in Plateau State and Benue, as a matter of fact. But today we'll focus on Plateau State. And one of the investigative journalists went to Plateau State with his outfit to interview some of the victims, the survivors of the killings in Plateau State, and they published a piece on HumAngle, which is a news site. And this morning we'll be talking to the sub-editor of HumAngle, as well as a conflict and humanitarian journalist. He identifies as a conflict and humanitarian journalist, and he's equally the sub-editor of HumAngle. Joining us to discuss the Plateau killings and first-hand reports of what is happening there, we have Johnstone Kpilaakaa, who is our guest this morning. Good morning to you, Johnstone.
Yeah, good morning, Lola. I didn't get the name of the other person.
Sheyi. His name is Sheyi.
Oh, Sheyi. Good morning, Sheyi.
Okay, thanks for joining the program this morning.
Thank you, Sheyi.
And is that Kpilaakaa? Is that how it's pronounced?
Kpilaakaa, yeah.
Kpilaakaa, good to know. So, happy Easter to you. I don't know what faith you practice, but I guess it's really just a generic greeting as well. So, let's talk about the piece for those who haven't read it. It's titled Zike, is this Zike or Zike tragedy? I think it's Zike. Zike tragedy. Zike. Okay, so it's Zike tragedy.
Yeah.
Survivors mourn, counting lives lost in Plateau attack. And I went through it, as did Sheyi. And in there, the survivors recounted their ordeals, how they survived that horrific night where 52 of their own people were brutally murdered by those they call marauding herdsmen. Some of the motives were discussed, as well as other things like how the attack could have been averted, because apparently there was forewarning of the attack. There had been intelligence reports that were predicting that there was a looming attack that, they didn't adequately, security agencies did not adequately prepare for, which then led to the unfortunate incident. But in your words, give us a summary of what you discovered when you went to speak to the survivors of the Zike tragedy in Plateau State.
All right. Thank you once again, and good morning, Abeokuta. So I was meant to travel. So it's a week today since the incident happened, because it happened last Sunday, right? So I was meant to travel to that community last Monday. And I've been in touch with the community for over a week before the attack. And mainly because there were like pockets of attack, ambushes that cost the lives of like 2-3 people on different days. So government was not focused on it. And my goal was to travel and then gather this data of those isolated attacks and then put it together into an article to draw attention to what's going on in the community. And so on Sunday evening, last Sunday evening, around 9:30, 10 p.m., my fixer in the community called and was like, "Oh, there's a threat. There's a threat for an attack. So you might not be coming tomorrow, but if there's updates, I'll let you know, right?" And then 6 a.m. in the morning, that's Monday morning, he calls to say, "Oh, we lost over 40 people." As at that time, he just told me over 40 people. So my first story just said over 40 people, because I have like about 3 sources within the community, right? So I didn't travel that day. There was high tension. There was going to be, my office would not allow me to go, obviously for safety reasons, right? And so I eventually did. I think I made that trip on a Thursday. Yeah, last Thursday. I actually traveled there last Thursday. And so generally, the motive for me was to draw attention even before the massacre happened. I was going to draw attention to the pockets of killings happening in the community. And just to provide context to the general public,
right,
to what is going on, to what is going on in the community. Because just to add, most times when you hear news about killings, you just hear the numbers and you don't get to feel that, oh, these 52 people are actual human beings with families. And so what we try to do is to spotlight the human cost of this conflict. So it's really what the article tried to do, to spotlight on the human and socio-economic cost of the massacre.
All right, Mr. Johnstone, locals say the attack could have been prevented. That's according to the YM's National Publicity Secretary. Well, he said it could have been averted, and you tried to reach out to the security agencies. Have you tried reaching out to them?
Yeah, I did. I reached out to a spokesperson of the Operation Safe Haven. It's a military troop operating in Jos and other parts of the country. And the base there is actually said to be managed by them. So I reached out to them. The first reason I reached out to said he was the former spokesperson, right? So he gave me the contact of the new spokesperson. I reached out to the new spokesperson as well. He didn't respond, unfortunately, but the Minister of Defense was in the state over the weekend, so I can imagine he was busy with that. But because I already knew how it goes when you want to talk to this spokesperson sometimes, I tried to also reach out to the military people in that community that work in the base. So about 5 of them, I met them at the market in the community, just to say that the base and the community where the attacks happened is a walking distance, because I literally walked around the community. I didn't have to use a bike or a car. I was trekking all through the community, right? And so I spoke to them, and I spoke to the vigilantes as well. But what they could tell you is, oh, we don't have the fire power or the human power, because that night, for instance, they said there were just 5 of them on patrol, and obviously the guys who came and did the attack were several people. I don't have the exact numbers, so I don't want to quote any figures, but there were several people for them to carry the attack at that scale. It has to take more than 5 people, because if it was just 5 people, the community can overpower them, right? But it was a lot of people for them to be ransacking different houses, different households simultaneously. So, and the issue is what government always complains, or what the military always say, oh, we don't have firepower, we don't have manpower, and the terrain is also like tough. It's a hilly community, so it's even difficult to navigate and all of that. Those are the excuses that the security operatives might give you. And I mean, I've been caught off in attacks in Plateau State. I schooled in the University of Jos, and we had this incident where we're trying to tell a security person at a post that, oh, there's an attack here, can you come and avert? And he's telling you, no, that's not my post, right? I was not instructed to go there. So you kind of like see that's like from a first-hand account as a survivor of an attack in Plateau State, right? So you hear those kind of things. Oh, it's not my post. I don't have the capacity to fight back, and terrain is also rough. So you get to hear some of these excuses from the military, not just talking with officers, but even high-ranking officers, including the late Chief of Army Staff, is it Taoreed?
Lagbaja.
He also mentioned, Lagbaja, he also mentioned this as a challenge that the military is experiencing. So, yeah.
That's interesting that you would cite dereliction of duty as the reason why the military claims that it could not prevent an attack that it had been forewarned about. Now, let's go back to before Sunday's incident. You said that you were already planning to go speak to the people of that community because there had been several disparate attacks. Maybe not with as many casualties as last Sunday's attack, but, you know, a few people had been attacked here and there, and you thought that it was happening too frequently, and you felt that you needed to bring it to light. But even before those attacks that you mentioned, the ambushes, Plateau has been known for having these kinds of conflicts for many years now. And so many people often chalk it to the culmination of decades of crisis and conflict with perhaps ethnic tensions and other types of tensions. So people believe that last Sunday's incident is just one of many attacks that have been happening for many decades, where there's clashes between communities, and they're not quite sure what the reason is or what is at the root of this decade-long conflict. Do you, from the accounts you heard, do you think that that's what it is, or do you think that Sunday's attack is different?
Yeah. So I've been covering like the Middle Belt region, and I'm from Benue, right? So you mentioned attacks in Benue. I'm from Benue, and like my mom literally visited one of those communities just a few days before the attacks. So, and I lived in Plateau State for a while because I schooled here. So I'm kind of like in both communities as a survivor, as a family member to a victim, as a relative to right.
So this is more than just a journalistic investigation for you. It's close to.
Very much like familiar with, and the issues are complex. Even in Benue is even more complex, right? Especially the recent incident. But we know Plateau for like ethno-religious crisis, especially, and those are actually, when you talk about that, if you trace the history of when it happened, like the 2001 incident, those ethno-religious crises or political crises that had ethno-religious undertone, right? They mostly happened in the city center, that's in Jos, right? Not in this local government. Now, for a long time, we've said, oh, it's farmer and herder clashing due to climate change. Herders are relocating down south, and so middle belt, they stop here, and because they are grazing, sometimes they graze on the farms of the people, and the people want to fight back and say, why are you grazing on my farm? You are destroying a farm worth thousands or millions of naira.
Right.
And then maybe they try to defend their environment and something happens to the cattle. And
that leads to the inevitable.
Destroyed it. Yeah, so we've been having those communal clashes, instances, right? But like the state government is saying currently, the state government is saying that these attacks are unprovoked. The locals are telling me these attacks are unprovoked, because I spoke to the kindred head of the community, or the district head of Kpilaakaa, where the Zike village is, right? And he says, we don't even have a header community here, right? We don't have a header community in our community. We've not had cattle grazing within our community at the moment, in the community that was attacked. So it's an unprovoked attack. That's what they've said. And what the district head, Mr. Luka Mary, emphasized, even as I stated in the story, was that this is about their land. It's more about their land. And it's more like, I want to take something from you, and I use, probably sometimes religion pops in because, there's a conversation about settlers and indigenous, right? So the indigenous are the people who are from Plateau State, who are predominantly Christians, right? The settlers are the nomadic farmers who are predominantly Muslims. That's what makes it religious. Because even the residents, even the indigenous people have Muslims within their communities. The king was telling me, we have Muslims within our communities. We live peacefully. There's a mosque in the community. There's a mosque, and just a few meters away, there's a Catholic church in that community, right? So he said, we live together with Muslims. Some of these Muslims are our children. So it's not about religion. Religion just comes in because of an identity issue with the other side, and one side is Christian, one side is Muslim. So you can easily use religion to stir up emotion. This is what the locals are saying, that, this is an attempt to push them off their land and take over their land for whatever reason. And the state government is saying, the state governor is saying some of these places are rich in mineral resources, they are rich agriculturally, so it's probably someone trying to steal all of those things, and they feel like displacing people is easy to exploit the environment. This is what the government and the locals are saying about the recent attacks, right? And like he said, like the king said, this is not the first time. Even the Irigwe community, Irigwe is a tribe in Plateau State that is predominantly in the Bassa local government area. And he's saying it's a challenge that they faced for a long time. I remember during one of the crises in that community a few years ago, you will see after the attacks, you go to community and see stuff like no more Irigwe land on the walls. The attackers wrote those things. So it gives them an idea that, these people want to push us completely from our land. So because when you do those attacks, it's expected that people run away. Interestingly, and just to add, people in this community, after the attack, they came back and they are like, we don't want to go to IDP camps. We are going to rebuild and live in our community. We are not going to leave it for anybody to take over, right? So the community feels like it's more a way of pushing them off the land and taking over the land. So they say this current attack is not an issue of farmers and herders. There's not a conflict. They say that if it's a communal clash, as the president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, is claiming, there would have been casualties on both sides. So you'd have seen that, not that only one community lost 52 people, and we can't say the same for the other people.
Right.
It's a communal clash. I mean, communal clash have those
casualties on both sides.
Both sides casualties, yes. So that's what they're saying.
Right.
If they say the communal clash, show us the casualties on the other side.
Okay. Now, just to clarify, you're saying that Sunday's attack that had a death toll of 52 people is being done, according to the locals, is being done for the purpose of displacing them from their land so that these attackers can then take over their land. Because before that Sunday's attack, there had been another one a similar one in Bocas, yes. Yeah. Another local government area in Plateau State. This one was in Bassa local government area. That one left about 40 people dead. And there have also been, according to the people of Irigwe, a series of isolated attacks. Maybe that's the one you were referring to since January. So you're saying that it's not the same ethno-religious conflict that Plateau has been embroiled in for over a decade. This one has a different motive.
Exactly. And I explained why ethnicity and religion comes in. It's just because of identity of the people involved in this thing. So let me quote the governor, Khaled Mutfang, a broadcast he did on April 16. He said, "This is not random violence. This is not an isolated conflict between farmers and herders. What we are witnessing is a systematic and premeditated campaign, one that seeks to displace, destabilize, and instill terror and fear in our people and communities."
I believe he even used the word genocide at some point in an interview.
Genocide,
I'm shying away from that because it's a hard word. So it's more complex. That's why I'm just sticking to land grabbing, right?
Right.
But let me give you an example. And the example is Bocas. I've been also interviewing people in Bocas for close to 2 weeks now, right? And the people in Bocas, they tell me, we know who the attackers are. One of the persons I spoke with, we know who the attackers are. And I'm like, how do you know them? He say, these people have lived in our community. They what they call it now, they trade with us in the market, and they called a place called Josho. Josho is a village in Bocas. Josho used to be predominantly lived in by the people of that community, right? But they've been displaced, and that is where the attackers now live, according to locals. That's what locals are telling me that. And interestingly, I was having a random conversation with another journalist yesterday, and he tells me that, I was in Bocas last year, and they told me the same thing. So this is two different journalists speaking to different people in a specific community who are giving accounts that are almost similar, right? All of them are saying, we used to be in Josho, but we are no more. Most of us have run away from Josho. So Josho used to be inhabited by the Ron people. Ron people are another tribe, just like there's Iriwe, there's also like Ron in Bocas. They were the ones who used to live in Josho, but they don't live in Josho anymore. In fact, I don't know how much time we are. I was going to say that part of what happened with the Bocas attack was that a pastor was returning from a trip, and then his bike broke down in Josho, and he was attacked and dropped into a well nearby. They thought he was dead, but he was now rescued. It was a chain of attacks that started from the funeral to the attack on that pastor, and then the one that killed the toll that now became high and people now spoke about, right? But that example of Joshua shows you that there's some truth in what the natives are saying, that, they want to grab our land because Ron people used to live in Joshua. Now they don't live in Joshua anymore.
Right.
The people who live in Joshua are now these settlers, right? So that's why they are saying they want to grab our land from us.
All right. Let me take us back a bit. You said something about intelligence that you were told that Bocos and these local government areas will be attacked around 9:50 p.m. that Sunday. And then security forces were also notified. A military base is also stationed less than a 5-minute walk from the village. They were also informed about the attack. So that means there was like an intelligence before the attack. So did you bother to ask about the source of this?
Okay, so the community, right? The community, as any other, they also have their community gathering data right? They also have communities. As a community, they are also gathering data about these issues. So they wouldn't disclose to you where they get their information about the premeditated attack, because that's their own local intelligence as well, right? So they are guiding it. But this is not the first time these people are sharing intelligence, really. This is not the first time they are sharing intelligence to say, oh, this is what is happening to us. This is what is... so they also have their way of gathering. They also have their way of gathering intelligence.
So they did reveal that to you in any way?
Well, they did, but just to protect them as well, I would not want to go live with how they get access to their intelligence, right? They did, but just to protect my sources and how they are able to get their own information, I would not want to disclose it on live radio.
Right, that's understandable.
All right.
Okay,
all right.
So...
Okay, let's talk about this. You mentioned the governor the other time when you were talking. That's Caleb Mutfwang. He described the attacks as genocidal and tied to land grabbing. And based on your investigation or based on observation, what you observed while you on site, what evidence supports or challenges this perspective?
Sorry, I didn't get that, please.
Yeah, the governor labeled or described the attacks as genocidal and tied to land grabbing. Based on your observation while you were on site, what evidence supports or challenges this perspective?
Well, I think that comment is coming from a perspective of more of if you want to take over the land of the community and they won't fight back, it means you have to clear them away to take over their land. I think that's what makes it that. I don't know if you get, but really that's just what makes it come that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just the idea that because you want to take over the land, then you need to attack or kill a group of people in a community to take over their land. It's why the governor or even top government officials have been saying that for a while. I remember I've quoted the former Commissioner of Information, Musa Ashams, say that countless times, right? So that's how I think about it. More of if I want to take this thing from you and I make sure I'm comfortable with it, then I need to clear you away from the place to have access to it.
Okay.
All right. This morning, we are talking to Johnstone Kpilaakaa. He is a journalist. Specifically, he is a conflict and humanitarian journalist, and he's the sub-editor of HumAngle. HumAngle is a news publication, and they specialize in the coverage of human and socioeconomic cost of conflict and humanitarian crisis. And they, Johnstone, to be specific, embarked on an investigative expedition to the community in Plateau State that lost 52 of its people, which made headlines last week. The community is Zike in Bassa local government area, and he spoke to survivors, and they are giving us, they regaled him with tales of what happened on that black night. And we're hearing from him because there have been a lot of narratives down here in the Southwest as to what is the reason for this. As I mentioned, many people are operating under the assumption that, this is just one of many strikes. The president himself has labeled it as a communal crash, which the people of the community vehemently oppose. They do not agree with that narrative, as Johnstone has shared. So tell us what you think of all you've heard so far. Share it with us on WhatsApp, 0817 0705 050 1067 on WhatsApp. 0705 050 1067. We're getting an insight into the killings in Plateau State and what are the possible motives for the killings. We're getting it firsthand from someone who's actually been there. And you can also tweet at us at Splash FM 1067 on X. Don't forget to use the hashtag Panorama on Splash. Apologies to our Facebook audience. For now, Facebook is unavailable. Now, Johnstone, speaking of narratives, one of those narratives was that the number has been exaggerated, the death toll, that is. There's a well-known security analyst that disputed the figure of 52 people killed in Plateau State. The person goes by the name of Zagazola on X. You may know of him, but he claimed in his own fact check that only 17 people were killed in the attack, according to security sources. Now, you said that the people of the community, I think you mentioned in the piece, I remember reading that you counted the bodies or something like that, that you also verified the figure given to you by the Irigwe Youth Movement, the people of the community. So you were able to independently ascertain that, yes, there were actually 52 people killed. I know it seems in bad taste to be disputing the number of the dead, because whether it's 17 or it's 52, lives were still lost, human lives. But for the sake of, credibility, veracity, and people who believe that these things may be politicized, can you confirm that 52 people were actually killed in that Sunday attack in Bassa local government?
Yes, so I would. So the context I should give is that the Irigwe Youth Movement, what they decided to do was issues around this. People were not telling their story, so they decided to create a structured database where they are keeping data, right? Keeping data for everything that's happening to them, whether the number of farms or number of people are attacked. And I personally spoke to somebody who was among those. I spoke to not somebody, several people who were among those recovering the body, right? They counted it, and like the publicity secretary of the organization said, that was why they published the names of the 51 people they buried. So they buried 51 people, 51 persons, and then one person died in the hospital after sustaining injuries from the attack. So they buried him in a separate grave from the mass grave. I went to the mass grave site. Yeah, I couldn't dig to count the people, but I have spoken to several people, received several videos from that community to look at the pictures. And it's why even when I was speaking to the main character in my story, when I spoke to the main character in my story, I tried to get the names of our children. Why did I try to get the names of our children? So that I can go and compare it on the list these guys are claiming they curated. And when I compared, it was correct, right? I eventually got the names of the other children as well, 2 other children. That was after the story was published. Those names are still on the list. And when I collected the names, the people who curated the list were not there. So there was no saying, oh, they influenced it, right? 52 people are dead. If you visit the community, you will see. I was at the King's Palace, and they sent some relief materials to the people who lost their loved ones. They were there. They were in that community. It wasn't a number that is saying, oh, it's just 17 people. And I remember that day I recorded the guy's tweet, and I recorded with the fact that it's what they call it now. I recorded that tweet with the fact that these are the names of the 51 people as at that time before the other person joined it. So I mean, that is the communities owning their narrative, is telling their story. Even before you heard about the killings in their state, they had numbers of the 22 people that had lost their lives. They had their numbers, their names, their ages. That's what they do. They keep the name and the age of the person. And I spoke to the vice president of the Irigwe Youth Movement, who is also a security analyst. She was one of those who said I shouldn't come on Monday because they'll be busy going to do the census of the deceased, right? So they spent the whole of Monday going household to household. After they have packed the bodies and buried, they went household to household to get the names of those who died. So there's no, it's not an exaggeration. It's the reality of the people. Even if you go to there's a room, I didn't add that in the story, but it's a room I went into where I was told that this is where 10 bodies were recovered from, right? So the community is telling their story, and I don't think they are going to exaggerate the number of dead people in their community,
right,
who have to get what from who, right?
Okay.
Because nobody will want to say, I lost. Like I said in the story, Mama that I spoke with was literally broken. She couldn't tell me the name of her other children. And I definitely could not Something funny happened on the field. I was recording the video and I realized I was recording on slow motion, right? And I'm like, I can't tell Mama to retell me her story. I eventually found a way to speed up the video. These people are broken. I visited the house where they took out 10 people. I visited Mama that lost 4 persons. I visited another community where one lady was killed. People were littered in the bush by the road. I could still see blood stains on the road when I came. Like, they were showing me, it was here we picked XYZ person.
Right.
And now, I could see the blood stains by the road.
Johnstone, do you have any theories, or do the people of the community have theories themselves as to why security forces would be claiming otherwise? Because the person who countered those figures and said it was just 17 people that were killed said he got that number from the multi-agency task force, security task force, that said it was 17 people killed. So do you or the people of the community have an inkling as to why the security task force would claim otherwise, when the people of the community, who would know better than anyone, and have also published a list of their dead, said 3 times that number of people were killed? So do you have theories?
Lola, when did the security operatives come to the community? Right? When did they come to count the dead bodies? They were not involved in the funeral. These people were the ones who were involved in the funeral, right? They were the ones who carried their people and buried them. The security operatives weren't there. So this guy is quoting some nameless sources that you don't know, right? That you can't go and ask because of whatever reason. I'm referring to people who were carried. They still bear the trauma. I was speaking to one of them. After I published my story, he had reached out to say, I didn't even know he was from that community. And he was telling me that, he just started sleeping last night. That's the night of the last night from yesterday, right? He was one of those who were carrying the dead bodies to the grave. These people, they have this trauma, they have this experience, they have the memories there ingrained in them. They saw their family members go, 52 of them. Because I was doing a trip in that community, my plan was a 9 a.m. My security plan was a 9 a.m., 3 p.m. trip so that I can be out of the community before it's dark. Because it's at dark, the ambushes happen, right? So I couldn't go to several households, but I saw some of them where they were receiving the relief materials, right? Only Mama had 4 people lost. I told you 10 people lost in that room. That's like 14 already, right? Mm-hmm. From the people I know. And then I met another woman who lost 1 person. That's like 15 already. This is just random people I was meeting. So I've already counted 15 people that I was aware of. And they showed me another house where they say 3 people died in this house. That's how many now? 16, 17, 18. Already we are off the 18. And I didn't go to. This is just like about 5 households that I was able to go to. Oh, and I forgot to say, they were pointing to me, we picked 1 person here. So let's say it's 20 already. Because they showed me where they picked, and I saw the blood stains in at least 3 different locations. And to tell you, none of my interviews with the people in that community was pre-scheduled. All of it, including the
So they would have no reason to lie.
We just walked into our compound and saw her, and we asked the people that, please, did they lost anybody in this community, in this house? They say yes, they lost 4 children. And we're like, can Mama talk to us? Will she be able to give us consent to talk to us? And she was like, yes, she can talk about it.
Okay, we want to get to the...
The only thing that was scheduled was me meeting my sister in the community. Every other household, including the king, he knew I was coming to his palace the time I entered his palace. All
right, we want to get to the phone lines, but we have a few more questions. So if you can quickly address them, then we can hear from our audience.
All right, now, Mr. Johnstone, I have this final one for you this morning. When you were on the field, how is the reaction like from the community in question, and what support do you think they urgently need based on your observations?
The community is broken. You could hear them sharing their stories of survival, the people they lost, counting their losses, even while just walking by the road. I mean, one guy was walking and he's randomly sharing how he was able to run into the bush and maybe like fought back when it's kind of like a bit huge guy. How he was a bit to fight back and then run to escape. Then this guy who hid on top of a tree and just hung there until. So those are the stories you hear. But the number one thing those people need now is security. They need to feel protected. Because like Mama said, we are not safe in our homes. Our children were killed in their sleep. Children as young as 3 years were killed in their sleep in that community, right? So they don't feel safe. So the first thing they need is to feel safe. They need security. And part of what I said in the story was that the king alleges that the attackers came from Kaduna. And you think, oh, Kaduna is just about 10 minutes away from the community. You can literally walk into Kaduna. The border is porous, right? They need safety. The other thing they need is they need to rebuild. People, they're already coming back to start rebuilding. They need aid. They need, because some of them, their whole harvest was burnt. So they need all of these things to, number one, feel safe. Number one, strength to like rebuild, right? So those are some of the things I would say, based on my interaction with them, those are some of the things
that they need.
The community urgently needs.
All right, here's my final question. The lingering thoughts I have on the piece are, one, if the motive behind the killings is land grabbing to displace the indigenous people of the land and settle there instead, what is the reason? Why is that land so attractive? And then the second thing is, days after the killings of the 13th to 14th of April, last Sunday, there was a report of cattle being poisoned in another community in Plateau State. Cows numbering about 36 that were said to belong to a herder was reported to have been poisoned in Bassa local government community. And you have said already that the people say these killings are not a communal clash. So there's no retaliation or reprisal going on. So I'd like you to speak to the report as well. So 2 questions. The first is the motive of land grabbing. Why is the land attractive? And the cattle being poisoned.
Well, so the land grabbing, there's a lot of mineral resources in Plateau State. There's people in Bassa, for instance, they mine tin a lot, right? So some of these things are in their communities where the artisan miners, they mine it. And government has tried to like clamp down on it to make it more regulated. But they have some of these resources. They have good fertile soil for farming, like different grains and other things that are relevant, to the food economy or for the food security of the country. So there's mineral resources, there's tin, the land is vast, so it's good for, it's vast, so it's even good for like ranches, right? You see vast land, you see mountains and stuff like that.
Right, so mineral wealth.
Yes, so there's mineral wealth, there's agricultural wealth, there's just the land in itself. Like you say, it's a beautiful environment. If you go to Zike or Bassa and you take just look at the environment, if it's a place, if harnessed, you leave Abeokuta to just come for like a vacation and you will totally enjoy staying there. Just a few kilometers away from Zike, there's a popular place called HumAngle Rest Home, where the white missionaries who first brought the gospel, some of the first missionaries who brought the gospel to Plateau State settled, and there's a retreat center there with people trooping year in, year out to go and have holidays and rest, right?
Okay.
So we have stuff like that in the community that might be attractive to someone who wants to take over a fertile land.
All right, now my next question.
About the cattle, right? Government says they are still investigating. But one of the things the community said, and I tried to use an academic paper to verify, is that, look, anytime we are attacked, sometimes they say it's a reprisal because we killed their cattle. Sometimes it's because we put insecticides in our farm and they graze on the farm. So where were the cattle? Were they poisoned in their house? That's what they're asking, right? Were they poisoned in their house, or they were poisoned by grazing on somebody's farm? So it's more like, what happens is more like you set a trap in your house because there's a rat disturbing you. And then they're even saying this is not a trap, it's insecticide. And the academic paper I quoted say, look, it's legit to use insecticide on your farm for crop protection. But say you put a trap in your house for rats, and then the rat falls into the trap, and then they say, oh, you killed the rat that was intruding into your house. That's what the community is saying, that see, we put insecticide on our farms, and these cattle come and graze on the crops
with insecticides.
And they die. But again, there is still reprisals. And I don't know if that incident was a reprisal, but I remember one time, I think 2021 or so, Bassa community was under attack. And then I don't know if you remember, there was a story of killing of some travelers in Jos that sparked into a crisis. It was a reprisal. People, locals who spoke to me at that time said, look, it was a reprisal, right? It was a reprisal attack. So
so you can't say whether this 36 cows.
If this current incident is a reprisal, but what I know.
But another theory is that the cattle could have grazed on crops that were sprayed with insecticide.
Yes, they were protected. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now let's get to the phone lines.
And this is not me exonerating the community from any reprisal, because reprisal could happen if I'm aggrieved. And what happened was the cattle died in another community which is closer to Jos than Zike, which is more closer to Jos, which is like barely 3 minutes to Jos, right?
Right.
The community have also reported around, so I kind of like have an understanding of it as well.
All right. Well, the police have said that investigation is ongoing as to the cause of the death of the cattle, so we don't know that either, what the reason for their death was. But let's get to the phone lines and hear from you. You can call in to 0705 050 1067 or call 0817 444 1067. You can also send a message on WhatsApp to 0705 050 1067. You can tag at Splash FM 1067 on X and tweet at us with the hashtag Panorama on Splash. Facebook is unavailable right now, but WhatsApp and X are good to go. We've been talking to Johnstone Kpilaakaa. He's a conflict and humanitarian journalist with HumAngle, his sub-editor at HumAngle. That's a news publication. They cover humanitarian crisis and conflict. And he did a piece on the killings in Plateau. He went to the Zike community in Bockus local government area where 52 people lost their lives between the 13th and 14th of April. Let's take a first call. Remember, you have 1 minute 30 seconds to call us on the show. So please make judicious use of that time. Let's take this call. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, are you there? Good morning.
We can hear you. Go on, please.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. All right, let's have a take.
First, let's look at this thing from the historical perspective. Because we say when we don't learn from history, we repeat the same mistake. I want to speak on the position of authority because I studied history at my first degree concerning this health. Now let's take it. I'm not sure when I have minutes to do, but then what I can do. Hello?
We're with you. We're with you.
We're with you. You have a minute.
These headsmen, they're not just in Nigeria. They cover 18 African countries. That's number one. Number two, this is not start now. It started from 1804. When Danfodio came. You know how they dislodged the Hausas. They came under the guise of and Hausas giving them the decision how to settle in and put their cattle and the rest. And they took over. Yeah? Taking over. So you see, the government lost. Every African country they are in now, they are causing problems. Ghana is the only country that will be able to deal decisively with this ethnic. You see, until we get to that level.
Hello?
Hello?
All right, sorry about that. We lost you, although the 1 minute was up anyway. Hello?
Hello?
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. I'm Best. I'm calling from Abeokuta.
Your name is?
Best.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, the quick one. You see, the problem we have is that when we are in a country that does not value life,
just what happens every time. When we keep burying dead bodies as if we are in war zone, what happens? When our leaders don't have the empathy and the sympathy of citizens at heart, this is what happens. The death toll of 52 and security forces are claiming service. I thought the lead that Johnstone was saying, you see somebody of 3 years, 4 years. I counted like 17 or 8 or 10 of kids between the age of 3 to 10 or 12. 8 years, 3 years, 4 years.
Okay.
Kids. So we need our government responsibility. We need our government to secure life and property.
All right.
People cannot do that laterally. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your contribution. Let's take one more call and then we'll break for commercials. 0705 050 1067 0817 444 1067. On WhatsApp, Comrade Otito Koro says, "It is well with us in this country." Shoson Olusoji asks, "Can the effective state policing system be a lasting solution to the perennial communal clashes in Plateau State?" Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Splash FM.
Hello,
Hi.
good morning.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Majid is my name from Adiba.
Go on, Majid.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it is so unfortunate that we are going through all this. The security situation is so bad, so tight, so perilous. And people have spoken very well, particularly Reverend Father Matthew John Cooker. So the advice to the president is to do the needful. Even though I heard that the VP has been directed to visit the scene today, but much as it is a good step in the right direction, but I think the permanent situation lies in proactive action. And what do I mean by this? You see, a country as complex, as big as Nigeria, cannot be run the way we are running. That is too big to be run as a unity state. So the president should take well-meaning advice to restructure this country. There is nothing wrong in having state police, like it is done in federal constitution.
Okay.
Federally run constitution.
Thank you, Majid.
So that's the way to go.
Right,
not by
thank
any
you.
other means.
All right, thank you. We'll have to implore our guest to please grant us an additional couple of minutes after commercial so that we can have him answer some of the questions that are being raised. So, Johnstone, would you please grant us an additional 10 minutes after the commercial break?
All right, that's okay.
Thank you. We'll go on that commercial break. When we come back, we'll take the rest of your comments, maybe a few more calls so that we can wrap up this conversation. This is Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM. We'll return shortly.
Talk radio.
I listen to a lot of talk radio.
I like talk radio.
Welcome to your number one talk radio station.
Fasten your seatbelts.
This is your favorite station.
Splash FM
106.7.
Follow who know road, they say. That's why I always stay close to Auntie Bola. Recently, she's been talking about something big. Og Step.
With Og Step, I have received intensive training in STEM education, which is training on how to use science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to solve real-life problems. It is helping our students. Og Step is also renovating 8 technical colleges across Ogun State.
Wow, Og Step?
Yes, Og Step. Ogun State Economic Transformation Project. Beyond education, it is transforming different sectors. In agriculture, over 22,160 farmers have been fully assisted. Its public service reforms have birthed an e-procurement platform for Ogun State. The Ogun State government, through Og Step, has also given out 12,000 certificates of occupancy out of the 15,000 targets to businesses and individuals.
Og Step!
Og Step, improving the economic livelihood of all Ogun.
Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn, àjọṣe gbogbo wa ni.
We are ultimate landmark schools. for a top-notch learning experience. We have qualified professionals, state-of-the-art facilities to make learning beautiful. We are ultimate. We are ultimate. We are ultimate landmark school.
Ultimate Landmark Schools. Ètò ìgbaniwọlé ń lọ lọ́wọ́ sí kindergarten, nursery, primary, college àti ẹ̀kọ́ ìmọ̀ iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ vocational skills acquisition. Ní yàrá ìkàwé tó dára, computer room, science laboratory, music department tó gbàgbàmù, library tó dúró déédéé, ibi ìṣeré ìdárayá, ọkọ̀ ilé ìwé wà, boarding facilities náà gbẹ̀yìn. Àwọn ọmọ wa sì ń ṣe dáadáa nínú ìdánwò UTME. We are WAEC NECO government approved. Ìdánwò common entrance máa wáyé ní May 24, June 28 àti July 19, 2025. Ultimate Landmark Schools wà ní Láfẹ̀nwá Abeokuta Ogun State àti ní Blessed River Basin Estate, Àdéhùn Abeokuta Ogun State. Telephone 0803-536-8194 tàbí 0813-642-7488. Ultimate Landmark School. In God we trust.
káràkátà ìnájà ọdún àjíǹde Easter tí wàá gbóná jẹnjẹn báyìí o kódà ó gbóná jọ súyà tá a máa jẹ lọ níjọ́ Friday. Pẹ̀lú ìfàrẹ́pẹ̀tẹ̀ ti Foodco Awoofu. Yes, so spend 40,000 naira or more and bam, you don't knock 2,000 Awoof meal voucher for Chop Chop Multina Classic. Pack of 12, now only 5,049 naira. Coca-Cola 50cl pack of 12, 4,349 naira 99 kobo. Get Chivita Active Citrus Lime for only 1,499 naira only. Kilo tún fẹ́ àsìkò fàrẹ́pẹ̀tẹ̀ rèé. Márosẹ̀ lọ rajà ọdún Easter ní Foodco tòsí rẹ̀. This Awoof promo tanda from Tuesday 15th of this month till it reach Monday 21st April. Terms and conditions dey o.
bá ń gbọ́ yíbírí àjáde mọ́tàn ńlẹ̀ ó yá ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní gbélé yín rìn fojú yín ó ká gbogbo ohun tó ń lọ nínú ọgbà ó yá ẹ bọ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ lẹ́gírí kéèyàn ó wà lájò kákan ẹni ó mọ̀ ṣe kílòkílò kò yẹ kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ kàn sí iléeṣẹ́ link shubin kí wọ́n wá install link CCTV camera yí gbogbo ilé yín ká gbogbo ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ nínú ilé sọ ìtajà ilé epo ilé ìtura tàbí ilé iṣẹ́ tẹ̀ ẹ̀ dálẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀máa wò lórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yín link CCTV camera tẹ̀ ẹ̀ bá ń gbọ́ yíbírí òun náà ló ń jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ torí gbogbo igun lé ní ọmọ yíbírí wò yíká kámẹ́rà méjì ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ló bá dé pẹ̀lú solar panel ló bá dé 24 hours ló fi ń ṣiṣẹ́ kò lè kú 110,000 naira ló bá dé báyìí o ó lulẹ̀ ẹ kàn sí ilé iṣẹ́ link shubin nítòsí NNPC ó fẹ́ dojúkọ géètì àbáwọlé OOPL Abiola Way lábẹ́òkúta 0814-491-6204 link CCTV camera ó yíbírí.
Let your power flow.
People in Abeokuta, get ready for an uncommon apostolic invasion, power explosion, and prophetic declaration as Elijah of our time. Apostle Dr. Layemi Omeledumari #1, Mr. Evidence from Ibudo Jesu Prayer Mountain for Ordinations, Ibadan, storms Abeokuta City in Ogun State with a power-packed and miracle-loaded 3 days Great Holy Ghost Revival and Miracle Program with a theme, the same Jesus. Date, Tuesday 22nd of April till Thursday 24th of April 2025. Time, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. daily. Venue, Ashero High School Senior, Abeokuta. It's your turn to experience a rare and unusual anointing with the raw power of God for healing, deliverance, salvation, breakthrough, wonders, accurate prophecies with definite solutions and life-changing gifts such as raw cash, clothing, raw food, new bikes, new cars, and lots more. Wine ministry. Apostle Dr. Layemi Omeledumari #1, Mr. Evidence. Free buses will be available from all our branches in Ibadan and Holy Ghost City, Emere, along Ibadan Abeokuta Expressway, Osiele Motor Garage, and Kobakwe Motor Garage, Abeokuta. 0909-4545-5286. The same Jesus awaits you all.
Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash, your integrity station.
Panorama.
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 Panorama. Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
It's good to know you're still with us this morning on Panorama on Splash FM 106.7 Abeokuta. And I was still taking more calls on the show this morning, and the number to call is 070-50-50-1067. You can also call 081-7444-1067 to join the conversation this morning. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello?
You see, what is happening in Plateau is a failure. I was in Plateau State from 2009 to 2013.
Okay.
I saw the massacre in that part of the country. It has been on for the past 25 years at least. It's been on for the past 25 years. And I don't see any end sight to it. My question is, I've always wondered, are these people invisible? They are not. They are known to the people in the community, in government. Invisible, they are not. They kill wantonly with audacity and nothing happened. The question, how many people have been arrested and prosecuted for the massacre in Plateau State? Nobody. In 2010, at least 300 people were arrested, and I say it as a journalist. They were asked to be brought to Abuja, and nothing happened thereafter. There is a compromise, complicity on certain an organization.
All right.
Which those security agents should find out. It's not going to end. It's an invasion of this country, and it is a violation of our territorial integrity. If they take over Plateau State, they take over Benue State. Before you know it, and down south.
All right, thank you very much. Each caller gets 1 minute because we are rushing to conclude this segment. Hello.
Morning.
Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Aziz Abduladi, calling from Nilaro.
Aziz, you have a minute. Go on.
Thank you. My own side of view is that our leaders just sit down on top of keg of gunpowder, and they are toasting with fire, naked one. Then they know only remaining who will now tell the truth. What's happening about this attack by all these headsmen is did not start from within. It's from international. And all of them are guilty of it. Why? Because they are hungry for power. They don't want to touch the power who vested those people into the country. That's just the problem. We know it. They know, they themselves. President know.
All right. Thank you, Aziz.
So we should just address the issue from the source.
Thank you. Appreciate your contribution. On WhatsApp, Ade says there may not be a solution in sight if the president that has the constitutional power of protecting citizens is not getting the right intelligence from the constituted authority, and there is no punishment for the combined security agencies as we have it now. They are complacent, and there's complicity in most security failure that leads to massacres. Until we tell ourselves the truth and let the federal government know that they have failed very woefully in the area of security and they seem not ready to protect the life of a single Nigerian, we may never get solution to these various security challenges. It is just politics, and politics that the government is playing with citizens' lives. Akorede Camille says, in the course of intelligence gathering, did Johnstone acquire information pointing to politicians or influential individuals benefiting from the conflict? Obadi Magic Bola Phillips at Obasanjo Hilltop, GRA, says many speak and write on what they have little to no knowledge about. Are you telling me the president does not have security report about the root cause of the problem in Plateau and Benue State, or he has a wrong report? I have a friend in Boko, and he said the root cause of the problem is communal, laced with politics and ethnicity, which the governors of the two states should be able to solve with collaboration with the federal government. Something like this does happen here in the Southwest as well, but our governors are always on top of it. Ife, Modakeke, and the recent one in Osun State. Let our governors stop giving excuses. Professor Dele Akimbodi says all these acts of cold-blooded killings of indigenous farmers in a bid to grab their land, which is affecting food production and prices, can only be solved by approving the creation of a well-armed state police. And Sanitarian Akiola Luaratimi says, it's so sad, inhumane, and evil for some set of people to keep killing our people and nothing is being done whatsoever. The government keeps calm and acts as if nothing has happened. It's a gory scene when I watch the video of the mass burial. Both children and adults, male and female, soldiers were not well equipped. How much more we, the citizens, as the government has allowed us to have our own arms and ammunition in order to secure our lives and property. The vigilantes as well are being given local weapons compared to those sophisticated weapons used by the underworld men. In a same country where these type of things happen, The president and other service chiefs would have resigned, but we're yet to hear anything from them. They feel unconcerned. Our soldiers are trying, policemen and other security agencies are trying, but we are the marching orders. May the soul of the deceased rest in peace. And finally, Adebowale Benjamin on WhatsApp says, the unwanted killings in Plateau and other states in Nigeria has a political undertone. How will invaders continue to kill our people with the intention of taking over their land? And the government that controls the security apparatus seems helpless without a strategy to end the killings. What a country. This barbaric killing may continue until we have a determined leader ready to sacrifice political ambition for the welfare and protection of lives and property. All right, we have Johnstone here, and we're just going to wrap up the conversation. There were a couple of questions that were posed. The first from Shoson Lolusoji, who asked about effective state policing possibly being a solution to end this issue. And someone else also alluded to that as well. And then there was also a Korede Camille that said, did you acquire any information that fingered politicians or any influential person as sponsoring the crisis?
All right, so about state policing, the Plateau State government under former Governor John Ajang had something called the Operation Rainbow, right? So the state already has a security outfit. What they need to do is to empower the outfit to be able to function in these communities, right? And about the politicians I didn't hear any of that. There was no mention of politics in the conversation. They just said it's a group of people who want to take over our land. And somebody mentioned something about Benue. I want to say that like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the conversation, the Benue issue is complex and not as completely as similar as what is happening in Bokos or in Bassa, right? I'm from Benue, like I mentioned earlier. And so the Benue issue is linked with like self-help groups who are now factions who are working for either the armed headers, allegedly, right? So it now even goes down to the issue of community taking arms to protect themselves. Self-help groups most times they start doing extrajudicial killings, they start doing things that are against human rights and stuff like that. It's been an issue even in the Northwest and the Northeast, where you see self-help groups who started to protect the community start to terrorize the community.
Right, they become like mercenaries.
What?
They become like mercenaries, like,
Yeah, so exactly. So anybody can pay them
killers.
To do something for them because they need the money. In the Benue Northeast, is towards the Taraba border. That has been part of their problem, right? These self-help groups fighting back their people, collecting taxes from their people, and sometimes it's because of. I was speaking to a friend who lives in Okum, one of the communities that was attacked. Her dad is a chief in that community. In fact, he was attacked by angry youth as well. And he's saying sometimes it's because of struggle as to who collects the farm produce taxes in this community. So when an external force wants to take over the community, they lean into them and do the abiding, right? That is not the issue in Bassa, right? It's not the same issue in Bassa. So when you look at the conflict in the Middle Belt, it only becomes the same thing when you look at it as a farmer header class.
Right.
Then you can say, oh, climate change, oh, X, Y, Z. Right. But when you look at the nuances, you discover that every issue, even in Plateau State, as I mentioned, has its own
peculiar factors.
Because the crisis that happened in the Jos city is different from what happens sometimes in places like Bassa. What prompts the crisis sometimes is different, but we settle with religion because, like I mentioned earlier, one group, the settlers, are Muslims, the indigenous people are Christians.
Okay.
That's what brings the religious order tone. And sometimes you can say, oh, the person who is president is from this religion, the person who is this one is from this religion, so it's political.
All right,
and
thank you.
Politicians also use it as a way to fight the opposition or the ruling party or whoever. So, yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much. And we appreciate the work you are doing. And we also appreciate that the time you've spent with us on Panorama this morning. Thank you, Johnstone Kpilaakaa, investigative journalist, conflict and humanitarian journalist, as well as sub-editor with HumAngle Media. Thank you for your time on Panorama today.
Yeah. Thank you, Lola. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah.